Ladies and gentlemen, my name is DREDD BREAD. You might hear some noises in the background. I think my siblings are doing laundry in the basement. I'm not sure. But hello, hello, hello. My name is DREDD BREAD, and we're back at it with the sample rulebook for Wereblades. Yes, sir, indeedy. Last time my audio got a little bit low because my voice started to die out. Tonight's not going to be a super long stream. We may not get through all of this tonight. I do have to work tomorrow, unfortunately. I was going to stream last night, but my voice, as you can tell, is still scuffed from work yesterday. And it's just been, the temperatures outside have been a bit cooler, but the temperatures in the house have not been cooler. It's been extremely hot in the house. And that I had to just turn on the air conditioning a little bit today because I was getting sick, man. I was just not doing well. No sir, no sir. So before we get into this, I know people are here for the rulebook and stuff, but I need to vent for a little bit, just super quick, super fast. For those of you who don't know or did not watch me first stream off, I talked about, no, it wasn't my first stream of off. It was a different stream of off that I did. The one where we got stuck with the library puzzle. I talked a little bit about how I was going to get concept art done, and that was supposed to be kept a secret for when I got hit, after I got hit with 500 subs. Allegedly, what I was going to do was I was going to talk to this artist. I was going to get art done for the channel. I was going to get it, eventually get a new VTuber model in the future, so I can stop using this free to use model, which I like, but there are limitations with it. That unfortunately did not go well. The short version of it is I reached out to him. Things were good. Guy wanted to play video games instead of being upfront with me. Blamed me. Told me he didn't really care that he wasted my time. I was kept in radio silence for a month. The dude was making posts, deleting posts that was setting off red flags, and just the way I can't recommend the dude. He wasn't being professional, and so that's what I posted. And then after that, he got back to me and basically said that 30 days isn't a long time. Stop being a baby. You're a bad guy. I should be able to have time off. Sure, artists should have time off. I agree, but I reached out to this guy after he just came back from a trip. So when he said he was going on another trip and he talked, get back to me soon, that set off a red flag, but I tried to ignore it because I really wanted this to happen. And I should have just gone with my gut instinct and just started looking for somebody else, but I didn't. But yeah, so things fell apart because he wanted to play video games. He blamed me for basically saying that waiting a month is not that long of a time. It was no good at the end. But he recently just posted something else. And the only reason why I know this is because another artist I follow posted on that thing where he has come out and said that he takes long periods of break on Twitter. And because of that, he is no longer able to find work on that site. Which rubbed me the wrong way because I went from disappointed to now kind of frustrated and angry with everything. I mean, I was willing to pay this guy money to get stuff done, and he just wanted to play video games and waste my time. And now he's whining and crying because he can't get art done, and that he even admitted that he takes long periods of time off of Twitter, so he doesn't get as much work as done anymore. So that just irked me, man. That just really, really irked me because he said that I was pretty much a bully. I was pretty much a bully because he wanted time off, and I wasn't giving him that time off. But he's had all this time off, so whatever, man. It is what it is, and it stinks. But anyway, 7 minutes of just me rambling and finally getting that off of my chest and feeling better. It's time to go. So last time we read about combat, and we read about magical combat. We read about accumulation, which happens with monks. Monks can basically go say, we're going to the gun show, baby. Here are my guns, gun 1 and gun 2. and they can accumulate stuff. They can put their magical life force into their fists and deal damage to creatures that normally cannot be hurt by regular weapons. The trade off is you have a lower crit when you hit with your fists, but you do a little bit more standard damage. Okie dokie. So that's all out of the way, and that's that dude there. That's where we were. We got to page 34. All right, we're going to get to invocation. Invocation is the third type. So there were 3 types of magic you can do. You could do wordcaster, numerism, which is the monk thing, and then invocation. I'm going to cough. I'm sorry. High level of techniques. Sorry, chat. Between it being hot and allergy season and stuff, I'm sorry. I apologize. I probably stumbled over a bunch of stuff too because I was just trying to leave some of what I was talking about out and just trying to make it simple. But at the end of the day, the whole thing was stupid. Anyway, higher level techniques. The power of techniques of numeric arts can be increased by the amount of strength imbued by the user. This increases the technique's effect as an example in each technique's description, though in most cases it makes the effect harder to avoid or simply more powerful. However, there are some techniques that offer no benefit by increasing their level, such as use of caution. The amount of mental damage suffered per segment, which is turn, for the accumulation roll, as well as its difficulty, are determined by the level chosen. For example, if a level 3 technique is used at level 7, the difficulty and mental damage are are calculated at those of level 7 technique. Got it. The accumulation time, however, does not change. Okie dokie. So if you use 11-7 spell, you're gonna take a level 7 points of damage. Accumulation time is how much time it takes to build up your magical juju power. So if you have a accumulation time of 2, it takes up 2 turns. If you make a critical success with the accumulation time, you don't have to roll the second time, but you cannot use it on turn 1. You still have to wait that second turn. Mental damage taken from accumulation. The amount of mental damage suffered from these techniques per segment, which per turn, is calculated. Mental damage per turn equals level technique times 2 minus the user's numerism skill level. Okay. So, got it? In order to complete the technique, then, the complete cost in mental damage is equal to the number of times the accumulation time. Realistically, however, these are cases where an attempt fails and not all of the required mental damage is taken, so the cost deducted from the user's total mental durability each time the roll is made. So yes, if you fail the test, you don't have to make another test, but you still take the previous points of damage. The amount of mental damage that can be taken in one segment cannot exceed 3. Any heavier spiritual burden than that will shatter the user's mind. One cannot use this technique if the mental damage suffered would push the user into heavy damage. So light damage and heavy damage was explained earlier for those of you who are popping in. So if you have a maximum of 11 HP and you take 1 to 10 or even a 1 to 11, that's still considered light damage. But as soon as you get pushed over your 11 hit points, that is heavy damage. And at that point, you get knocked out and bad things start to happen. Where were we? The amount of mental damage that can be taken is 1, cannot exceed 3, yada yada yada. Yep, heavy damage similar is enough to take mental damage to reach heavy damage before an accumulation rolls has been made. The attempt instantly fails. Okie dokie, now we're getting to invocation. My brain just meh. The use of invocation is nearly the same as numerism. There are techniques with set levels, and the supplement is able to use any techniques whose levels are the same or lower than their current invocation skill level. So if you only have a skill level of 2, you can only use 1 through 2. You cannot use 3, 4, 5, and 6. That should be self-explanatory. However, techniques cannot be used at any level lower than their default. The steps to use invocation are detailed below, so if you have a skill that is set at 2, you can't use it at level 1 because it says so. Select a technique to use. This cannot be changed after this step, so this is very, very important. Once you lock into whether you're attacking, using a skill, using magic, or whatever, you cannot change it. It is set in stone, and I like this because this is something I've seen in groups that I've been in, and I know this has happened to other people that I know, where you get somebody who wants to do the maximum amount of damage, and they go to attack, and they realize their attack's not going to do what they want to do, so they dilly-daddle and they contemplate what they're supposed to do after they've already told the DM they're making this attack, and it wastes a lot of time. So I like that once your attack's set in, no matter what, after you've set it, it has to be done. A prayer roll is conducted using the technique's level as the difficulty. Regardless of the outcome of the roll, supplement suffers the required amount of mental damage during each turn of the player attempt. This is repeated for a number of segments or turns equal to the player's time indicated in the technique details. On a prayer roll fail, the technique ends immediately, and it may be repeated from step 1. I wonder if there's going to be consequences for critical failing prayers and stuff like that, because there is critical failing for if you take medicine and you try to heal somebody and you critically fail, you end up doing more damage to that person than actually helping them out. My voice is still knackered from yesterday, so I apologize. I'm doing the best that I can. Prayer roll. The roll required each turn, as explained above, is the prayer roll. It is action with a difficulty equal to the level of the technique being used, attempted and used by the character's base player's value. The base player's value is calculated as such. Your base will, plus your mental resistance skill level. If the player's value plus the result of a D10, not dentai, I don't know what a dentai is, but that's what I said, is equal or greater than the level of the technique being attempted, the player is successful. Each time the player roll is attempted, the invoker must take mental damage. Mental damage is suffered regardless of the outcome of the roll, but if the player fails or the caster intentionally ends the spell, no subsequent rolls are required and no further mental damage is taken. That's the same with all the other magic skills that we learned about. The prayer roll must be attempted for a number of consecutive turns equal to the player's time. I'm just calling them turns for right now, because if somebody new pops in and they hear me say segments, they might get a little bit confused. In the technique's description, if the player's time is 2, then it must be conducted for 2 turns, but a perfect success is an exception. If the prayer roll results in a perfect success, which is a critical, the next segment will automatically succeed. So again, this is just like the previous rules. This does not mean the prayer will automatically complete on the current segment, so it will not complete in turn 1 if it has to be completed in turn 2. Also, if any luck points were spent on a perfect success result, the player will automatically succeed for the number of turns equal to the amount of luck spent. However, even in this case, the time it takes to activate the technique and the amount of mental damage will not change. Got it. Unlike word casting, a total failure does not mean there's a chance of explosion, but there is the risk that the invoker's magic skill will temporarily fail. So when word casting, like it said, if you fail your magic casting, the spell will explode, and that is no bueno. That's why you little Billy have to stand 10, 15, maybe even 20 feet away from the party to make sure you don't nuke us, okay? All right. On a total failure, the invoker must roll a 1d10. On a 1 to 3, the character's invoker skill drops 1d5 levels for a day. If this drops, the level to 0 or lower, they are unable to use invoking until it's restored. I like that. In any case, a perfect success or total failure during a player roll will give the character, this is the same for anything, for attacking, for rolling, whatever. You basically get proficiency points. If you succeed, you get more. If you fail, you only get half. Yeah, so we're not going to read that because it basically just said what I said it was, twice as high the level. You can re-roll with luck except for 1. Okay. Mental damage from prayer. Mental damage is incurred each time a prayer is attempted, regardless of the outcome. The number of mental damage taken per turn is calculated, so it's mental damage suffered per turn. Technique times 2 minus the invocation skill level. Got it. Invokers cannot suffer more than 3 points of mental damage per turn. That means that any technique would inflict 4 or more mental damage per segment is unavailable to the invoker. Such as the word casting, it is, if used, a technique would incur enough mental damage to push the character into heavy damage. That technique cannot be used. Got it. So this is just repeating everything that we have already learned in the previous stuff that we've read. Okay, if the user takes damage during an accumulation prayer attempt, they must make a will roll with a difficulty equal to the amount of damage taken. If all damage has been absorbed by the user's armor, they must still make a will roll with a difficulty of 1. If the roll is failed, accumulation attempt prayer immediately fails. Okay. Avoiding numeric arts in invocations. This is new. The effects of numeric arts or invocations can be avoided by the targets if they make a specific action roll. If so, the roll type and difficulty will be noted on the save section of the technique's description. For example, the binding palm technique paralyzes the target for a few turns, but a successfully difficult 9 will roll allows the target to completely ignore the effects. Okie dokie. And here we go. Here's the hidden manual. It's the Rude Operator Handbook. Last time I was calling them, I think it's pronounced Rude. Last time I kept saying Raiden or Rudin for some reason. My brain just wanted to put the N there, and I just kept saying it, and that's what we went with. So we got these orange boys fighting these other orange boys, and it's not looking good. It's not looking good. Hidden Manual. Rude Master's Handbook. I'm pretty sure it's okay to look over this because this is a big segment of the game. Every player, I think, has the ability to get one, but getting one and learning how to use one is not a cakewalk. All right. Unlike characters, Rude only have 4 ability scores ranging in value from 1 to 10. These are Speed, how quickly the Rude moves and can react; Power, the Rude's physical strength; Arm, for armor, how well armored the Rude is; and Balance, how easily the Rude can keep in balance when moving. Oh no! I can see, oh man, if one of these things falls over, man, you're not gonna have a good day. These things are big. Like characters, Rude have a IN, DN, and BN value. Initiative value, defense value, and I forget what BN is. I just reread that too, so I wouldn't forget, but I did. I think it's battle something. I don't remember what it is. I'm sorry, chat. Memory of a goldfish. Using during combat. Full details on how to calculate this is further given below. Rude rank / mask rank. So yes, so in order to operate one of these big guys, not only do you have to train how to move and use it, but you have to have one of these special masks to wear. And if you don't, it's gonna be no bueno for you, my guy. Going from measure the overall power. Alright, measuring the overall power of the Rude and its mask, going from J weakest to A strongest. Why is J weakest? Wouldn't it be like, I don't know. Movement speed. At normal walking pace, Rude moves at the same speed as a horse, 3 liters or 12 km per hour. Rude can usually travel for 4 etches, 8 hours a day. Okay. Dashing speed. A Rude moves a number of leaps equal to half of its speed value in one segment. 2 seconds and can maintain that speed for 5 turns, okay? Jumping power. Ooh, I can jump and smash things. A Rude can jump power times 6 leads vertically. When jumping after a dash, a Rude can jump a length of power times 50 leads and the height of power times 6 leads. Okay. Alrighty. Fall endurance. How much damage is aboard when a Rude falls? Determined by its rank. Unit durability. The amount of damage a Rude can take before being rendered inoperable. Uh-oh. There we go. We got some hand-on-hand combat. Ooh, you can see my mouse this time. My mouse cursor. Very nice. Last time it wasn't showing up. Operating a Rude. To operate a Rude, a character needs to have the drive skill at level 1 or higher. The drive skill acts as a modifier to various action rolls made by the Rude, as well as intelligence and BN, I forgot what that stands for, rules made during combat. The higher the level, the more actions you will benefit. But to get this, though, you have to get special training, and I don't think you can just take this right off the bat when you make your character. Required drive and drive modifiers. The higher a Rude rank is, the harder it is to operate. This is represented by the required drive value. The difference between this value and the character's actual drive skill is called the drive modifier. So drive modifier, which is the skill, equals the character's drive skill level required to drive. Okay. If the drive modifier is negative, i.e. the drive skill level is below the required drive, attunement checks and operation rules suffer a penalty to the drive modifier. On the other hand, if a drive modifier is positive, attunement checks and operation rules gain a bonus equal to the drive modifier. Got it. So if you're in the negative, no bueno. If you're in the positive, good stuff. Attunement checks. When an operator enters a Rude, they will be contained within its mask. Okay. While within its mask, will attempts to resist being controlled. That I feel like that needs a little bit of working on the phrasing, because unless I'm just reading that wrong, if the resistance is not overcome, the operator will struggle to control the machine. In a worst case scenario, the machine may even control them, because the mechs in this game are biomechanical. They are their own living things. The more powerful the mask, the greater the resistance. This is represented by a rule called the attunement check. In this rule, a result equal or less than the mask attunement value, determined by its rank, is considered a success. If the roll is higher than the attunement value, it's a failure. A roll of 1 is a perfect success, and a roll of 10 is a failure. So this flip-flops everything that we've read so far. For other actions, it's the other way around. 10s are success, 1 are failures. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting indeed. Alright, I'm just making sure I'm not missing out on any new messages or anything like that from chat, because that has been an issue. The first time a character attempts to operate a Rude, they must make an attunement check. If this result is in a penalty, the penalty applies every time the character operates that particular Rude. This check is usually made by the WN, but can be done by the player at the WM's discretion. WM for this game is the Dungeon Master. Oh, I need to make sure. Oh, balls. Why is my... Okay, my bitrate is good, but it's telling me it's super bad on Twitch. I hope everything is a-okay, but we're getting to this guy down here. He's yellow and he's got a big hat. And he's got a tiny sword. Attunement check procedure. Ooh. Find the relevant attunement for the value of the Rude's mask rank. Roll 1d10 and subtract the character's drive modifier, whatever I said, from the result. If they roll a 1, the attunement is a perfect success regardless of the character's drive modifier. If they roll a 10, it's a failure regardless of the modifier. In each case, the character will not regain luck or earn proficiency points. Ooh, that's interesting. If the roll is not 1 or 10 and less than less than or equal to the attunement value, the character can freely control the Rood from now on. Okay. So here is an example of a Rood. Very big mechanite guy. I like the pipes and the things and the whatnots. I do wish he had a little bit of a bigger sword, because this just kind of seems like light and awkward unless it expands somehow. But he does have two of them. He's got one right there and one right there, so maybe they can double equip and become like a two-bladed weapon. Okay. If it is greater than the attunement value, the character failed to attune to the mask. They must reroll a 1d10 on the attunement penalty table A and apply the results. In the worst case scenario, the Rood will refuse to move and the operator suffers. So penalty A, 7 through 10, base drive is permanently reduced by 1. 4 to 6, Rood speed is reduced by 1 through 2 through 3. Speed and power are reduced by 1, and 1 is roll on tab B. Oh, 10 through 7, make a will roll. If successful, base drive is permanently reduced by 1. If the roll fails, the operator's constitution will be reduced by 1 for the rest of the day. 6 through 4, which is kind of blocked off by the sheath there. Mild dizziness and discomfort. Make a con roll. If successful, base drive is permanently reduced by 1 and operation loses 1 con. If the roll fails, the operator also takes 1d5 physical damage. Uh-oh. 3 to 2, mental pressure, the tightness in the chest. Make a will roll. If success, the operator loses 1 con and must roll on the one table again. What? Must roll on table 1. If the roll fails, the operator takes 1d10 mental damage, and the Rood refuses to move, operator takes 2d10 mental damage. Uh-oh. He said, no, I want the ice cream today, Mr. Man. Alrighty. Operator rolls. Just like humans, Rood carry out actions through action rolls. In this case of a Rood, these are called operation rolls, or operator rolls. I'll just call them operation rolls for right now, because that's what I said. As with normal action rolls, the WDM sets the difficulty depending on how challenging the action is being attempted. Instead of base, that's what it is, base values. Operation rolls use a base driver value. Sorry, making big noises. I'm drinking water. Not drinking ice water today, though. Like the drive modifier, the base value is recorded on the Rood sheet, meaning you only need to calculate it when you first attempt to operate the Rood when the character's drive skill levels increase. Oh, and when the drive skill... Okay, that makes more sense. I missed the and. Operation rolls procedure. Operator roll, not operations. Oh, it's late at night. The WM sets the difficulty based on what the player is attempting. In cases where terrain has impact on the outcome, additional penalties are applied. Base difficulty, standing, sitting, lying down, getting up, crouching. Okay, running, dashing, emergency stop, sharp turn, sharp U-turn, jumping. We got it. And then there's a thing over here, which I think is the knight, because there's his mask. Light work, picking up objects, carrying objects, throwing objects, holding objects, using tools. Alrighty, I am not reading all of this stuff right here because we're just trying to get through the sample rulebook. I am not in any way sponsored by Lion Wing. I really like role-playing games and Japanese games. I just really, really like them. If you want to go look at the rulebook, you can. You just click on the Click Starter page, and then you can download the sample rulebook for free. Go in. If you really, really like it, you can go throw the money at the Kickstarter, which is doing incredibly well at the time. Okay, terrain modifiers. Level ground, 0. Slope, mud, snow, forest, caves. Okay. Or other modifiers. Okay. DM can make decisions on when there's modifiers and stuff too. The player rolls 1d10 and adds their base drive, as well as any modifiers from the attunement penalty tables. Ooh. The player can also spend luck to increase the number of dice rolled. Okay, that's still the same. If the total is equal or greater than less than the difficulty, the action successes. If it's less, the difficulty has failed. The action has failed. If the total is 1 or less, or all dice come up 1, it's total failure. Immediately roll 1d10 on the operator error table A and reply the results. So I really kind of wish they wouldn't flip-flop the critical successes and stuff like that, because this is going to confuse people with this stuff here. Because with this stuff here, if you roll with the attunement check, if you roll low, it's good, but if you roll high, it's bad. And then we go back to rolling high is good, but rolling low is bad. I'm going to see, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to get confused on that. Most definitely. But that's how the book was written. Okay. Maybe it just makes more sense when you're playing it. I am a visual learner. Like I learn better when I'm actually playing and involved in things and that than just reading up. I used to be pretty good at just picking things up as I read them, but as I get older, I guess I have to see things and do things to kind of understand it better, to get it in my noggin. That's part of the downgrades of being old, chat. You just can't remember stuff that good. Perfect successes. Okay, so perfect successes and total failures and operator rolls generate proficiency points for the drive skill, as with normal actions. A perfect success, okay, will also restore luck. Yes, so critical rolls, critical successes restore luck, but not all the time. Now we're getting into combat, chat. Rude scale combat is essentially the same as human scale combat, but includes a number of additional steps. Additionally, due to the delicate nature of the machinery, taking damage can trigger specific issues for the Rude. However, players with a good understanding of human scale combat should be able to adapt without any problems. Calculating initiative, defense, and base values. Alright, in initiative combat, initiative and defensive and BN will fill the same roles as they do in human scale combat. We read that earlier. This means combat resolved in the same fashion as with human combats, though the values used are often more than double those at human scale. The section explains how to calculate these values. Well, you are in a giant mech, so I would think that being stabbed with a giant sword would do more damage to a tiny human being than just regular damage from a regular human-sized longsword. A Rude's... I don't know what that noise is. It's probably my siblings. I don't know. They make noises from time to time. I can't tell them to shut up. And sometimes I just hear weird stuff and I can't tell if it's coming from outside or from inside the house. A Rude's initiative value is calculated as followed. A Rude's initiative value is operator's base senses plus Rude speed plus drive modifier plus attunement penalty if accepted, and that will result through that. Okay, that the roll result. Okay, got it. So senses are basically your 5 touches, your 5 senses, I should say. Your touch, your sight, your hearing, your smell, your taste. Since the base sense and speed drive modifier and attunement penalties are fixed numbers, the Rude sheet includes a space to calculate this. Oh, that's nice. And enter the Rude's base int value. This is Rude's. Okay, the Rude's based initiative plus the operator's based senses plus the Rude speed plus modifier and penalty if acceptable. Okay. In actual play, initiative can be then calculated by adding the result of initiative / defense roll to the base initiative noted on the sheet. Okay, this is supposed to be all on there. Rude's initiative value, Rude's plus base plus that stuff roll. Of course, the machine's operator can spend luck points to increase the number of dice rolled, as well with human initiative. Will also determine defense initiative, or defense thingy McBobber. I forget what that's called. So make sure you note down all the rules results. That seems a little bit... Reading this seems a little bit complicated, but I don't really think it is. So I think it's just basically you're taking your character's senses plus the Rude's generic initiative modifier, and then your operation. I kind of get it in my head. I kind of get it in my head, but I really don't know how to spit out the words, because this seems a little bit convoluted, and I know it's not. I apologize, chat. Nothing I could do about that. I didn't, with my headset on, I didn't hear stuff was going on in the background. I switched where my setup was ages ago. My new setup is now in my room. It used to be downstairs, and I had to change it because certain people in the household were being passive, very, very passive aggressive about certain things. And it just made streaming a pain in the ass to do, because every time I was streaming and they found out I was streaming and they got mad at that, they would make a bunch of noise and I would have to constantly mute my mic. But I am in my room now, and I do try to mute stuff when things happen up here. I mean, it happens less because I do it at night. That's why I don't stream during the day, because if I did stream during the day, I would get hit with so many copyright things because people blare TV, they blare music. It would not be a good time for anybody. Anyway, like I said, this all seems a little bit convoluted, but I'm sure once I see it I can understand it, and then I'll be able to explain it better. Unfortunately, though, I just can't. Yeah, like I can't spit it out right. Anyway, if a Rude loses speed, make sure to reduce its base initiative by that equal amount. As with a human scale combat, a perfect success on initiative/defense thingy rolls double the Rude's armor for that segment. Okay, so that's nice. So that means you're faster, so you get better armor for that turn. A total failure means the armor is halved for the segment, and you must roll a 1d10 on operator. This thingy right here, a perfect success, not preferred, and total failure will also generate drive skill proficiency points, but will not restore luck. Okay, so this is the air table. 1, roll on table 2, which is down below. 2 to 3, make a balance roll. If you fail, the Rude falls over, inflicting 1d10 physical damage to all occupants, except the operator loses balance, causing the machine to topple. Wait, make a balance check. The Rude falls over, inflicting 1d10 damage to all occupants. Example, the operator loses balance, causing the machine to topple. Okay, that makes sense. I just misread that wrong. 4 to 6, make a balance roll. If you fail, the Rude's initiative defense are half next segment. Example, while swinging a sword, the Rude loses its balance and falls to one knee. Oh no, I took an arrow to the knee. Minor mistake. With no real bearing on the combat example. Okay. A minor mistake with no real bearing on the combat. Example, the rude sword slams into the ground, covering the machine's legs with grass and tree branches. Okay, this is table 2, 10 to 7. Weapon is dropped. Make a luck roll. Success, the weapon falls to your feet. If the roll fails, it lands 2d5, leads away in a random direction. 4 to 6, the weapon is broken and can no longer be used. 2 to 3, the arm is broken and can no longer be used. Left dominant. Okay, so 3 is left non-dominant, 2 is right dominant. 1 accidentally attacks self, damage inflicted by doubled after factoring in power. That's not good. Unless otherwise states, Lux cannot be spent rolling on Operation Air tables. Ooh, that's new. If the result refers to something that has already been broken, the WDM can escalate the next highest result where appropriate. Weapon broken left arm, broken right arm, broken. Okay. The DN value of a Rude is calculated as follows. Rude's defense value plus operation agility plus Rude speed. Okay, we're gonna ignore these for now because I feel like if I try to go into these, I'm just gonna confuse myself even more. Hopefully this is a little bit clearer in the actual rule book. I'm gonna have to watch the actual plays of this to see just to see how these actually play out, because I think I know how these work, but I'm not confident that I truly 100% get it all. Since the base agility, speed, drive modifier, and attunement penalties are fixed numbers, the Rude sheet includes a space to calculate this, and that is this right here. So here we go. We've got 2 Rudes fighting, some really nice artwork. In addition, in actual play, DN can then be calculated by adding the result of initial. Okay, we're just kind of skipping. I feel like I want to kind of skip over this because I'm just scrolling down to see how much more. Okay, so we're almost done with it. I really feel bad because I know I'm not the right guy for pulling this off, for taking a first impression for it. I really wish some of the people I look up to who do this stuff would. Maybe I might reach out to them and kind of poke them and prod them and see if they would take a look at this stuff, because right now I'm just a little bit confused. And this is what I talked about in my first stream, where a lot of people get turned off by Japanese RPGs because this stuff right here is just broken down game terms, but it can come off as kind of convoluting, or not convoluting, but just kind of convoluting and confusing. Let's just see if I can make this out. All right, so in actual play, defense can then be calculated by adding the result of the initiative plus the defense roll. So that's easy. You add initiative plus defense to the base. All right, so it's Rude initiative value plus Rude's base initiative plus initiative / defense roll. That is easy peasy. I was just making it a little bit more complicated in my head than what it is. Also, if the Rude speed is reduced, make sure to reduce the. Okay, so we got it. So if your speed goes down, this number goes down. Base value. The base value of the Rude is calculated as follows. So you have your base value for the robot, base value for operator's agility, the Rude speed. This is where it's getting a little bit complicated. Drive modifier, any penalty modifier, attunement thingy, and weapons skill. Got it. Since the base agility, speed, and drive modifier and attunement penalties, base modifiers and weapon skills are fixed numbers, the Rude sheet includes the space. Got it. So that's the thing on the character sheet. Weapon skills for human skill weapons can also be used in Rude weapons as long as they are the same type. So if you have proficiencies in long swords and your Rude use... Ooh, hello. I'm sorry I did not see you there. So I do have a new setup going, and the notifications don't always pop up. How are you, Henry? Um, right now we're just going over the rule book, and we're just reading about combat, and I'm trying not to get overwhelmed with all the little different abbreviations and thingy McBobbers and whatnot. Alrighty. Well, I'm glad you're doing okay. Um, I do apologize if I get some of this stuff kind of mixed up and wrong. This is the rule book, and I'm better at picking things up as I play them. I am not at all sponsored by Lion's Wing. I did throw money at the Kickstarter because I am really interested in this game, and it looks really, really cool. Right now, we're just going over combat with giant mechs. So, as I was saying, if you have skills with your human player, your human character. So if you have long swords, you can basically use your long sword skill when using long swords with a giant robot. Let's see if let's see here. Weapon skills from human skill weapons can also be used by rude weapons as long as they are the same type. Of course, rude or the mech size weapons can only be wielded with while inside a rude, which makes sense because there's no way you're going to be able to pick up a giant kaiju slaying sword when you're like a couple of inches tall and that thing is like the size of a skyscraper. In actual play, I think it's base value, base initiative. I forget what BN is. Can then be calculated by adding the result of the BN roll to the base BN noted on the sheet. Rude's base BN value equals Rude's BN what? Okay, so that equals that plus that. Got it. When making the actual BN roll, the Rude's operator can spend luck to increase the number of dice rolled. Also, if the Rude's speed is reduced, make sure to reduce its base speed by the same amount. So every time the speed goes down, this is going to go down. A perfect success on a roll means the damage inflicted is multiplied by the number of dice rolled plus 1. And a total failure, an operation, ooh, that's not good. Roll a 1d10 on operation error in the table in combat. Yes, I am the poop man. Yes, I do like this model. It's a very fun model to use. Processing damage. The main feature that differentiates rude skill combat from human skill is how much damage is handled. The power value rude add to the damage calculates allows them to deal far greater damage than a human could, and taking damage can cause various addition issues for a rude. Losing components and systems due to damage in particular is an integral part of the thrill of the rude combat. When attacking human targets, all damage inflicted is multiplied by 10. Oh, that's not good. I think I'd rather just get stepped on than like killed by a giant mace or split into tiny pieces by a giant sword, or just get smushed in some horrific way. As in combat skill, the BN's value is greater than or equal to the Rude's defense. Okay, defense initiative thingy. The attack hits, damage is calculated as follows. So it's damage dealt equals damage value plus power value minus the target's armor value. Damage inflicted is subtracted from the target's durability. It would be a good idea to add the Rude's power to the weapon's damage value beforehand to cut down on extra calculations. Ooh. Okay, this can be noted on the Rude sheet. Luck can be used to roll an additional damage die value for each luck spent, but the rest cannot exceed the maximum. Okay, so that's the same. So if a weapon does 1d10, you can't have it do 2d10 damage. When the amount of durability lost by a Rude exceeds certain thresholds, the following additional steps are carried out. When total durability, God, I can't speak tonight, loss exceeds a multiple of 10, the operator must roll 1d10 on the standard damage penalty table, and then adjust the damage, the rude's values. Accordingly, this may result in the operator taking damage. So that is you. It's not good. When the final damage is dealt by an attack is equal or greater than the rude's armor, the operator must roll 1d10 on critical damage table 1 and then apply the results accordingly. So here's the standard damage. So 10 through 7, minus 1 armor, 6 through 4, minus 1 speed, 2 to 3, minus 1. 1 is roll again on the critical damage A, which is this, okay. So 10 through 7 is minus 5, 1d5. As armor minus 1d5, operator takes 1d10 physical damage. That's not good. Power, 1d5, operator takes 1d10 physical damage. Why does the operator take so much? Oh, this is because that's critical. Speed is minus 1d5, operator takes 1d10 physical damage, and 1 roll again on critical damage B. That's not good. Power failure, roll 1d10 to determine the effect part which has been disabled. 10 becomes disabled. Or is that neck? So neck becomes disabled. 9 to 6 is left arm, 5 to 2 is right arm, 1 is leg. Vessel rupturing. Ooh. Roll 1d10 on which part damage location table to see what. Okay. Coolant leak. Oh, that's not good. So the mask is the thing that you need to wear to order to pilot the mech. And if your mask is destroyed, you can no longer pilot the thing. Unless stated otherwise, luck cannot be spent on rolling these tables. Damage location. So we've got left arm, right leg, neck, and torso. Got it. Again, you can't use luck on this stuff. Neck disabled. The neck joint becomes completely unusable, reducing the rude speed by 2d5 until repaired. For the models that do not have heads, the operator takes 3d10 physical damage instead. Oh, that's not good. Arm disabled. One of the arms is rendered non-functional, reducing the rude's balance by 1d5 until repaired. If a weapon or shield is held in an arm and it cannot be used, any arm it offers. Okay, any armor. I was thinking regular arm, but any armor is lost. One-handed weapons can be switched to the other arm, but doing so reduces the operator's base agility by half for purposes of calculating base initiative and defensive thingy-McBobber. What was that? Something just popped up. Nothing there, nothing there. That was weird. Something did pop up, though, for like a brief second. Leg disabled. One of the legs is rendered non-functional, reducing the rude's balance and speed by 1d5. Each unit repaired addition... God, I'm jumping ahead way before. My eyes are just jumping ahead faster than I can read. Alright, so the rude's balance and speed by 1d5 each until repaired. Additionally, a balance roll must be made because you will topple over, using the damage inflicted by the opponent's attack before modifying the armor as the difficulty. If the roll fails, the rude falls over. Coolant leak. A leak forms in the cooling system that prevents the source of the rude's power, the muscular tubes, from overheating. After 1d10 segments, intense steam will blast from the rude's body as it overheats and becomes immobilized. Ooh, that's not good. That's not good at all. Vessel rupture. The membrane of the muscle tubes breaks, causing the blood inside to leak out. As a result, the rude loses 1 durability each turn. This increases by 1 for every additional vessel rupture that occurs. The operator can manually staunch the rupture by closing off flow of blood to the infected tube cluster for any part except the torso. This will stop the durability loss for the location for the next turn onward. However, this will also disable the closed off part, causing penalties as described as above. So it causes coolant leaks. Ooh. Mask destroyed. The most devastating type If the mask breaks, the rood is lost. No. So roods can only be controlled by masks, and only one mask can control a rood. So I was curious if the pilot was killed, if the mask could be taken and then bent to the will of another user, but it does not appear so. When a unit's durability or any of its 4 ability scores reaches 0, the root is immobilized. The unit is not technically destroyed, but cannot move again until repaired. If the operator is still able to act, they can exit the root. This takes 1 turn and can continue fighting on foot. You want to run away at that point if you're fighting another giant robot. More details regarding ruled combat are found in the full rule set. So that is the end of the sample. But here are some examples of the robots. You have the AZ Cud, or Cud. He's a footman dude. You can see here he's a stocky little boy. I think he's got a neck. I think that's a big helmet, but I could be wrong. I think he doesn't have a neck. I think that's the head there in the chest. Ranks as a high-end machine footman model. The operator compartment is sealed, and the archer often rides. Oh, and an archer often rides on the top hatch. So that's cool. So you can get 2 people there, but I don't think how much. I really don't think that's going to do a whole lot. Shooting little arrows at these guys. So we have the Multu Ragasuru Corsair, a typical Western Corsair, sporting the Ichions of its nation on its chest and a knight's crest on the left shoulder. Its loincloth can also be used to staunch bleeding. Oh, so the art. Okay, so the art does. The art does actually, in fact, the design actually does, in fact, okay, carry over to actual use in the game. Okay, that's neat. And then we have the Gisha Shakura Khan, the Maledictator. Oh, it's got an ego of 2. Fires arcane projectiles without depleting the Rood's mind durability, dealing 1d5 damage to other Roods. A captured Eastern-made Rood model modified with an additional Western style of carapace. So there is the East versus the West in this game. There's different factions and whatnot. The rulebook did specifically say it's just like the Western part of the game that you're focused on, but here is the rulebook. Or not the rulebook, but here is the character sheet. So like all old RPGs of yonder day, if you're a really good artist, you could scribble something there. If you're not a really good artist, you could just make a smiley face or a stick figure. This is where you write down your personality, your name, your gender, your age, your class, your profession, your title, your homeland, your current homeland, family or other relations, the name of your robot, your class benefits, and notes and whatnot. But here you go. Here's everything broken down. So you've got your melee, your charge, your range, all that good stuff. These are your core attributes, your senses, agility, will, constitution, charm, and luck. Base initiative, yeah, base. So base is that, base defense, got it. So all that is broken down for you, which is very nice. And then you have all of your mental stuff here, and I do like that it gives you, right here for damage, it does give you a chart, so that's very nice. Constitution, luck spent. This is all the stuff that you start with for free, which is very, very, very nice. And then your armor, so you get 3 pieces of armor for your regular, if you're on foot, so you get your body, your head, and your shield. And then you get your armor modifiers, which could slow you down. If your armor is really heavy, you're not gonna run too fast. Then you've got your money, and then you've got complete bonus luck reserve and player's notes. What, my mom? Oh no! Hey, thank you. Dice rolled, okay. And then this is Wordcaster, so this is if you were a magic user. It's where you would put all your spells. And then this is your Rood. So if you wanted to draw your own little robot, you can. There's your attunement penalties, your special abilities, your other equipment, all this stuff. Okay. And unit durability. Okay. Alrighty, that was not too complicated, but that has been the rule book, or the sample rule book, for this game. Where's Blade? A game that came out in Japan in the 80s. It's been really, really popular over there. This is part of Lion's Wing's, I forgot what it's called, Japan's Legends that they're doing. So they're going to be, this is the first game they're going to translate that has never been translated into English before. I think they're going to be translating Swords World and a few other games, which I'm really excited for. But this one has really caught my interest because I like giant mecha robots and things like that. I've seen art for this over the years, not knowing where it came from, and now I finally do. And I can't wait to see the finished product. As you can see there's a giant mech in the background and dude on horses. It just got very, very lovely art. There's the dude summoning the spirits with his mask. And it just, I really like this art too. This is one I've seen throughout for a very long time. But anyway, that's gonna end tonight's stream. I know it wasn't super duper long. I will get back to playing off and some other games, but tonight I just wanted to get through this. You're on the continent of Ahan, not to be confused with Aha. And I will see you all later. Thank you everybody for stopping on by, and I'll see you in the next one. Until next time, bye bye.